I am going to have a field day with this one. So Activision just did something pretty big, and I could not believe my eyes when I read this. Activision just implemented an AI voice chat monitoring software called TalksMod that can report and get players banned for a multitude of different reasons if certain words or phrases in violation of their code of conduct are said in a game voice chat. Who in their right mind thought this was a good idea? I have many issues with this dystopian sci-fi turn real AI moderation of speech. Activision has their very own robo word cop going around everywhere and dictating what can and can't be said in a COD lobby. And before I really start, no, I'm not mad because I can't spew hateful and angry garbage in a Call of Duty lobby. It's the principle of what's going on. It scares me for the future of gaming and, dare I say it, the future of online speech and expression in general. I'm going to cover how TalksMod exactly functions because the internet lacks a decent explanation of how it works. But first, I'm going to share why I think it's a horrible concept, idea, and why I think it sucks. Again, I'm not angry we can't yell horrible things, but simultaneously, who thought it was a good idea to say, oh yeah, let's just monitor everyone's microphone and automatically report players who say anything offensive or toxic? Have you met the COD fan base? Are you trying to shoot yourself in the foot, Activision? Since when was this ever a problem in the first place? Have you had players that come crying to you and complain that they got called a bad word or name and they want to ban the other person for being so mean and horrible and their feelings were super hurt? What invoked this sudden need to censor what we say while playing a video game? Why are we being so soft and woke that now we have to control everything we say in an online voice chat? For game rated M for mature, it seems like they're not concerned about children seeing people, you know, explode in blood or seeing their head being blown off, spraying blood everywhere. Rather, they're worried about the 10-year-old that shouldn't be playing the game in the first place, hearing someone say a bad word or an offensive phrase. I can tell you right now that it's much worse to desensitize a kid to brutal and graphic violence than just bad words. I'm sure by 10 years old, most every kid knows every bad word that one can possibly say. And if the argument isn't just to protect children playing the game, then who exactly are we arguing for? The people who are over 18 years old playing the game knowing they will encounter some trash talk or, God forbid, some swearing in an online lobby? The ones who fulfill the requirements for M for mature, you mean? The ones who read the rating on the box and also read online interactions not rated by the ESRB? So now I guess the online interactions are rated, but by Activision instead? This is the #1 way to drive players away from wanting to use the in-game voice chat in the first place. A lot of players are gonna say, if I can't say anything that I want, then why would I use the COD voice chat when I can just use an Xbox party, a PlayStation party, Discord? Now, I don't want to say anything offensive, or heaven forbid, anything anti-woke, but I will reiterate, it's the principle of it. What will this lead to in the future? If they can get away with censoring and banning players who use toxic or hateful speech, what's next? Will they ban speech that violates their woke belief system? Quote unquote misinformation? Also, who is the arbiter for hate speech exactly? Who decides what is hateful speech and what isn't? So many flaws lead to so many questions. But regardless of my complaining, you guys know I had to read up on the issue and give you guys the facts. I'm gonna tell you guys how TalksMod works, exactly what it does, and then give my opinion on it, which I've already kind of done, but you'll hear more. It seems like when you research it on YouTube, everyone's just read Activision's blog about it, and they haven't researched exactly how the software functions intricately. That's why I'm here. And let me tell you, it's kind of scary what it can do. Just to let you guys know, I know I keep my videos very unbiased most of the time, but aside from my practical analysis of what the AI does, this is going to be heavily opinionated. But stick around for it. Let me make my points and see if you agree. And we probably already agree, seeing as you clicked on this video, but if not, here we go. Before we get into the facts about TalksMod, I want to point out that after perusing the website, the company Modulate that designed the AI seems to be an extremely woke and left-leaning company. Meaning, this is just my personal view in the situation, they care more about feelings and telling you what is correct and virtue signaling in the process, rather than allowing freedom of speech, thought, and choice. And the reason I draw this conclusion is based on these surveys right here. Get ready for this. It says here that Modulate recorded that 67% of multiplayer gamers said they would likely stop playing a multiplayer game if they face toxic behavior from another player. What? And 5 out of 6, or 83% of adult gamers, said they had encountered some form of toxicity online, with most of the emphasis on, and I love this choice of words here, targeting the underprivileged. If you wanted proof that they were an extreme liberal company, here you go, in obvious writing. See, what they mean by targeting the underprivileged, if you allow me to speak candidly for a second, is jokes that target minorities or women, but they just group everyone who is targeted by offensive jokes of this caliber and just call them underprivileged. That is actually wild to me, and actually somewhat hypocritical to just rope everyone in and just call them that. I have so many gripes with just these 2 opening surveys. First of all, I'm interested to know where they found the people that contributed, because that survey had more snowflakes than the entire season of winter. 67% of people said they'd quit a game after experiencing toxic behavior from another player. What? Who are they surveying exactly? Did they only pick people who are oversensitive, or people who don't know a mute button exists? I seriously cannot tell you who they're surveying. Any normal functioning and stable adult would tell you they'd continue playing a game after someone was a jerk online. What kind of a normal person gives up anything after one person was a jerk? Oh my gosh, this number is absolutely outrageous and completely false as far as I'm concerned. Also, I'm surprised that that 5 out of 6 number isn't 6 out of 6. Literally everyone that plays multiplayer games has experienced at least one toxic person, whether or not their toxicity was directed at them or not, unless they don't use voice or text chat. Maybe they accidentally surveyed a bunch of people who only play Minecraft survival mode by themselves or something. I don't know. The point I'm trying to make is that these surveys attempt to advertise the problem as so bad, and everyone's getting their feelings hurt and quitting all of their favorite games, to then subsequently say that their AI RoboCop word police is the ultimate solution that can save everyone from mean and hurtful, and dare I say, unsafe environments, even though nobody that experiences online toxicity is physically threatened by anything. It's just more safe space left-wing garbage. Calling a game chat where people say mean things unsafe is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard in my entire life. Who is not safe? Who is in legitimate danger? Absolutely nobody. But I digress. This problem doesn't even exist in the first place, and they're trying to fix it with an AI. Man, there's so many problems with this. People want to eradicate negative emotions, even though that's what drives a lot of us to improve as people. If no one talked smack about your sniping, your weapon class, your movement, how much less motivation would you have to improve playing a game, assuming you're not working hard to improve and you're just playing for fun? Heck, if someone never criticized you in anything, how are you going to get better? I'm so sick of this safe space, no negative talk nonsense. People come at me in my comments, whether it be a respectful disagreement or a full-force toxic rant about how dumb my content is. Do you think I'm gonna quit YouTube because people don't like me or disagree with me? I'm saying some extremely divisive things right now. People are gonna come at me for my opinion, but you know what I say? Bring it. It only makes me want to prove my point more and further improve my videos. Toxicity can be fuel, or you can just complain about it, or just mute it if it's useless garbage. In my opinion, these surveys are such flimsy evidence for why TalksMod is needed, because these results aren't realistic and don't even reflect mature and stable participants. But all this complaining aside, I'm now here to bring the facts. And that being said, there's a severe shortage of explanations of how TalksMod actually functions. When I searched it up on YouTube, literally 0 videos were able to explain it well enough. Luckily, their website ended up being the ticket, and honestly, I should have checked there first. In order to understand the full picture, I guess you have to understand the opposition as well. So here's exactly how TalksMod operates, as understandably as I can put it. TalksMod, as we know, is an AI bot that is capable of listening in on millions of conversations concurrently, meaning every single game chat conversation taking place in Call of Duty in real time. And it flags things that is programmed to flag. The reason I say programmed to flag is because Modulate, the company that designed TalksMod, customizes their AI and tailors it towards their partner's needs. In the case of Activision, the software is programmed to go after hateful, offensive, and discriminatory language. Because it can be tailored and programmed differently, it can be told to target only certain words and even only in a certain context, as I'll cover a little later. According to the website, TalksMod can assess the tone, timbre, emotion, and context of a conversation to determine if something infringes a company's code of conduct. For those of you who don't know what timbre is, it means the actual sound of a voice. For example, the tone of a voice is how words are spoken, like if it's firm, angry, apologetic, and so forth. But timbre is, again, the sound of the actual voice. For example, a trumpet and a saxophone can produce the same notes, but have a different timbre, meaning they sound different, being different instruments and producing different sounds. Timbre in the context of an AI voice moderating RoboCop means that it can detect and differentiate between different participants in a conversation, and likely figure out their age and gender. So for example, if someone makes a misogynistic joke directed at a female player in the game, the AI would be able to assess if the joke was about women and determine that there was a woman present within the game, and from there assess whether or not it was aggressive or just banter, based on the responses of others and the tone of the quote-unquote perpetrator. It is said here that TalksMod is the only voice moderating AI that goes beyond just flagging blacklisted words, and truly recognizes the context of each situation, and that it can assess nuances within conversations to determine whether or not something is friendly banter or straight up hateful and mean. After TalksMod does this, it provides a report to the human team of policy enforcers, or whatever they're called. Now, how this report is formatted, we can't exactly tell from the website or anywhere that I've looked, so we have to make some inferences here. Since the bot is recording and it provides the report, reports, it's reasonable to infer that the bot provides a detailed written report about the incident and then provides a voice recording of what exactly infringed the code of conduct. Before we continue, let me provide a small example so that you can understand exactly what the bot does. I'm going to make the insults rated E for everyone so I don't get demonetized myself, but I'll try my best. Let's say two players are in a bit of a trash-talking fight in a game of search and destroy. Once things escalate and kills happen and the rounds become more exciting, eventually their resentment for each other climbs to dangerous levels, until in one pause, one of them utters the words, "Shut up, dumb stupid head." Now in this split-second moment, when these key words have been said and the contention reaches its peak, the bot goes to work. It analyzes all the things we mentioned, including tone, timbre, emotion, and the context of the insult, grabs a clip of the voice, and sends it over to Activision with a written report somewhat to the effect of, two players were constantly arguing and throwing insults until one said, "Shut up, you dumb stupid head," and nobody laughed or responded. It is then up to the human to determine whether or not this explanation in the voice clip violates the code of conduct, or whether it was just a little good-natured banter. Different scenarios are analyzed and reported to the toxicity management team in great detail, with the context already taken into account so the human moderators don't have to go back and listen. It's essentially eliminating all of the work except for striking the ban hammer. So the AI doesn't ban people. Human beings are still the ones swinging the ban hammer. So what we're essentially dealing with is a system that flags offensive or hateful language and leaves it to a human being for review. This creates a couple of key problems that I think ultimately will end up banning a lot more people than necessary. First, and let's be real here, we know how offensive some things said in COD are. If someone in fact utters an offensive statement, it's going to be flagged for review. Problem is, now nearly every statement that violates the code of conduct will now be flagged. This, I think, is the main reason why the system is foolish and almost completely useless in the first place. Before, if someone took offense to something that someone said, they could either mute or report that person, and then the person would be banned if someone reviewed the situation and found it to be justified. However, now we're facing a system that flags every offensive thing that will ever be said in a non-friendly sounding way, which, yes, is not only a huge amount of things in COD, but more importantly, things that may not even offend anyone in the voice chat may still get someone banned. For example, if someone says something extremely offensive and insulting in a search and destroy match, which is not that uncommon, let's be real here, but nobody gets offended by it and nobody cares, because let's face it, most of what is said in search is never really taken seriously, the incident is still flagged anyways, which risks a ban. Now, I'm not condoning offensive speech, but seriously, even if no one cares, someone will still get flagged. If you're going to signal virtue by having an AI moderate for a quote-unquote violent speech, why don't you just ban everyone that thinks the offensive statement is funny or acceptable to say in a COD lobby? Surely then you'd be managing all your toxic players. You see my point? This automated policing of language is so dumb, because although the AI can detect context, it can't detect if someone is offended or not, especially on COD of all games. This means it is always active and always listening, which means players now have to start censoring their words. And again, I don't care if, oh, they only have to censor hateful words. That part doesn't matter. Anything being censored is a dangerous game to play, and so is controlled speech online, which is ultimately what the main problem is. Barely anyone that plays COD actually takes any form of toxicity very seriously at all. If someone actually does, then honestly, what in the world are you playing multiplayer and using game chat for? And also, there's a mute button, so use that instead of reporting someone who's just talking a bit of trash. And now, look, I've heard some egregious things over voice chat, like absolute atrocities. Should someone get banned from a game they enjoy because they firstly said something they were never ever serious about in the first place, and secondly, something that didn't even offend anyone in the first place? Like, what exactly is Activision combating here? If someone has a genuine problem with the things being said over a video game, and I'll say it again, if you really get offended on Call of Duty, are you sure you can handle playing the game in the first place? But if you're genuinely offended for some reason, just report the problem yourself. It's really not that hard. Anyways, that's really all my talking points I have about this topic. I just can't believe Activision is becoming more woke than they already are. I wish companies would stop trying to be politically correct and care so much about quote-unquote social credit, so to speak, and just focus on producing genuinely good games and creating fun environments to play the games in, where, hey, maybe some mean trash talk or offensive things will be said, but in the end, and for COD's whole life, it has always been for the sake of entertainment and the Call of Duty experience. But it drives me nuts when big corporations try to signal that they're so caring and philanthropic about other people's feelings and try to force it down our throats, even if our moralistic beliefs don't align with theirs. But they think they're playing God in this case, and they think they can dictate what is offensive and what isn't. And you know what? It's their game and their platform, so they have the full right to do that. But just know that it definitely rubs me the wrong way, and also probably 95% of the remaining fan base. It is genuinely hilarious how little Activision knows their audience. Do they realize a high percentage of the fan base can deal and take trash talk, and also just deal with blatantly offensive things that they can hear? It's like they're almost telling us what offensive offends us or what should offend us. I truly have heard some atrocious things being said in a COD lobby, and I have enough maturity to say, all right, that person is just being stupid, and move on. Who on earth do they think they are appealing to with this woke RoboCop that listens to our every word? The only thing I can think of is raising their social credit score to appeal to the other woke nations and corporations, because I guarantee you that almost nobody that plays COD agrees with or likes this new edition. I am genuinely curious to hear what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But for now, that's all I got. Take it easy.